Every day, millions of people go online to search for local businesses. When they do, does your small business show up? When you create a website on WordPress.com, you make it easier for your customers to find you, to connect with you, to hear how you can help them. Your business needs an online home. It needs a WordPress.com website. You don't need experience setting up a website. WordPress guides you through the process from start to finish. They take care of all the technical stuff, so it's easy to get your site up and running. Their customer support team is made up of WordPress experts eager to help you get the most from your site. They're available 24 hours a day, not just Monday through Friday and weekends. The plans start at just $4 a month. And all WordPress plans include a custom domain name for the life of the plan. Come see why 28% of all websites run on WordPress. Get started today with 15% off any new plan purchase. Go to WordPress.com/Jacoby, Jacoby. There, you can create your website and find the plan that is right for you. That is WordPress.com/Jacoby for 15% off your brand new website. WordPress.com/Jacoby.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head the dirt. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood.
Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me a boom.
He is Jalen Rose.
What up, Doc?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in, center stage on the mic.
And we putting it on wax. It's the new style.
We're Jalen and Jacoby, soon to be on ESPN2 at 2 p.m. What do we do?
Give the people what they want.
If the people wanted a fantastic national championship college football playoff game, they got exactly that. Jalen Rose, when Jalen Hurts was benched to start the second half in favor of Tua Tagovailoa.
Very nice, sir.
Did you think that Nick Saban had made a mistake by putting in the freshman?
First and foremost, you know I was a little salty and a little hurt when Jalen got benched.
I know that all Jalen's are special to you.
No question about it. But also, just look at the success he's had under center. And I know that they're a team that's dominated with their defense. They're loaded with All-Americans. They have the greatest coach in collegiate football history. So he has the cachet to walk in front of his team the last couple of weeks and actually share reps in practice with the backup quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. I was watching Mac Brown on ESPN's MegaCast. I saw yours too. Great job.
No,
he was working all day.
That's a lie.
And the one thing he said, to show you that I'm not lying, is he talked about the influence of the backup quarterbacks and how they may play a part in the championship game.
Talk to me.
And he said that he didn't do a good job when put into that situation to make sure his backup was ready. But he knows that Nick Saban is doing so. So that stuck with me. And so when I was watching the game, I was like, oh, okay, they are struggling offensively. Again, he's having as many rush yards as passing yards. Nick Saban finds ways to develop players throughout the year. That's the one thing that great teams do, great organizations do, is I saw them do this with Derrick Henry. I saw them do this with the tight end, O.J. Howard. All of a sudden, they just had the biggest games of the year at the biggest moments. So when it happened, I was like everybody else, waiting to see what was going to take place.
Well, I was like everybody else, and I was questioning the decision. It seemed like Jalen Hurts, has been the carrier of the weight of this offense for not just 1 year, but last year as well, during the second half. And there's this, Jalen. This is where I want you to take me behind the curtain and get inside the head of Jalen to Jalen. Jalen Hurts is on the sideline. He just got benched in the national championship game where he is trying to get revenge for a game that he lost last year and bring home the title. As he is on the sideline watching Tua play, how much of him, what percentage of him is rooting for Tua to succeed?
Had to pull you behind the curtain for real on this one. So a couple of things. You can't be a Jalen without being ultra competitive.
I like it.
Here's a guy that once they lost to Clemson rolled around with the picture of the opposing team catching the game-winning championship on his windshield or dashboard of his vehicle. And so for him to have that image, it was something that for 12 months he was like, not only do we want to get back to this spot, but I want to make amends for my personal bad play. So when you get replaced and you're not playing well, you're salty. That stings. It hurts. But he handled it with maturity.
He did. He said all the right things. But do you think his heart was there?
No, but here's what he did, though, fam. He did all of the right things. I talk about this with Moises Alou and the guy who, for the Cubs, Bartman.
Steve Bartman.
Shout out.
If Moises Alou doesn't overreact to him reaching onto the field and catching the ball and dropping the ball or whatever ended up happening, I don't think they lose the game. I think his overreaction made everybody tighten up. I appreciate the fact that Hurt still stayed emotionally and psychologically invested. And he didn't show any jealousy. He didn't show any malcontent towards any of his teammates, especially the one that replaced him. Everybody else watches that. The other guys on the team, the coaches, everybody watches that. That allows Tua now to go in and have a great opportunity for success.
That's well put. And I also want to get into the psychology of another player, Andy Papanastros. He is the place kicker for Alabama. A lot of people will remember Tua's throw and the touchdown that won the game in overtime, but a lot of people will forget as time goes by. The kick that he missed at the end of regulation, completely shanked it. Andy Papanastros shanks this kick. When Tua throws that ball to win the championship, how happy is Andy after he missed that kick?
Oh, he's the happiest man on earth because one of the things that has happened in sports is the person that's sitting next to you or that's sitting in front or behind you at a game, you may think that they're just a fan or just a supporter, but let me tell you something that all sporting events have in common. A betting line. And had they lost that game, and his shank kick was the reason why they ended up going into overtime and ultimately losing the game, I would hate to imagine the anger, the hostility that so many fans, supporters of collegiate football, those that support their bottom line and or their pockets, would have been really upset. Like Scott Van Pelt would have said, those would have been some bad beats. And he would have continued to get people all over his top because he did shank it. And it was an amateur-looking kick for a guy that's playing elite-level college football at that point of the game.
So I also want to spin this forward. If you look at Alabama going into next season, Tua Tagovailoa now looks like the starting quarterback for the Tide. If you are Jalen Hurts, you're going into your junior year. Do you reach out to Lane Kiffin, and yes, I'm going to start this now. Is there a possibility that Jalen Hurts takes a year off and transfers to FAU to play for Lane Kiffin? I know I'm putting my conspiracy hat on right now and saying crazy things, but I could see it happening. Could you?
This is why we're brothers from another mother. Because this is so laid out on the platter for a young man that handled himself with maturity the entire time. Started as a freshman, they lost. Started as a sophomore, they won without you. I've paid my dues here. So it's only right that I transfer. And I'm allowed to transfer wherever I choose, including to play for Lane Kiffin. So do not be surprised if and when this conversation starts to take place. I'm pretty sure when he got back to his cell phone, let me show you how it works.
He got some text.
He looked down at his phone, and there are some people that know Lane Kiffin really close that was in his phone saying, you need to come down here and run with us.
I love it. When you are running a business, there are no decisions that you will make that will affect the success of your business than the people that you hire. And that is why you need to hire through ZipRecruiter. When you have an opening, ZipRecruiter posts your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards with just a single click. Then, ZipRecruiter actively looks for the most qualified candidates and invites them to apply. They review every application to identify the top candidates so you never miss a great match. And that is why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other hiring sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on the right candidates finding you. It goes out and finds them. That's why there's no wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate on the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes and industries to find the most qualified job candidates and get immediate results. And right now, my listeners can post jobs to ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, absolutely free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/J&J. ZipRecruiter.com/J&DJ. And you can post your job for free. That is ZipRecruiter.com/J&J. One more time, you can try it for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/J&J. Jalen, while everyone was watching the national championship game in the college football playoffs, everyone missed the Cleveland Cavaliers getting absolutely waxed by the Minnesota Timberwolves. It was a weird night. J.R. Smith couldn't score. Kevin Love couldn't score. But it got really weird when Isaiah Thomas did this to a driving Andrew Wiggins. Gave him a little wada to the throat. Gave him the wada! Jalen, what is Isaiah Thomas doing on this play?
That reminded me of back in the day, watching so many Bruce Lee movies, and you know I'm a huge fan. There's a picture hanging up in the studio currently.
We tried to hide it, but you won't let us.
And I even remember us going to buy the flat karate shoes. Going to buy nunchucks, trying to make our own version of them, all of that. That's exactly what that reminded me of.
What is it? Was he going for the ball? Was that intentional? Was it unintentional? What was happening?
That was a classic play before the rules started to be as strict as they are. If you wanted to take a shot at a guy, all you had to do was think about going after the ball, and you can whack him in the face or whack him upside the head. So that just shows where the rules of the game has changed. And obviously him being 5'9", I do think it was an unnecessary play. I still, in today's climate, don't feel like he should have been ejected for that.
Oh, really? See, here's the thing. There are a couple things changed it for me. Number one, the score of the game and his night. Like, when you're down by that much and you're shooting that poorly, you know frustration is bubbling up. If he had 40 points and 5 assists and was, 20 for 30 from the field, you don't think he's hitting Andrew Wiggins in the face. I take that into context. Like, don't you take the quote-unquote down and distance into context when you're evaluating this kind of a flagrant?
I do. This is why I'm the kind of guy, as an official, I'm going to leave you out there to keep getting beat down.
Oh, I like that. I like the true punishment is leaving him there.
No question. Because it's one of those things, and I talked about this, I think it was with the Rockets or so last year. When they were up, and Mike D'Antoni left his best players in so they could send a message to beat down the other team and to destroy any hope that they may have, I would have left him out there.
I like it. Another thing that I noticed during these plays, and Dellavedova did it lately as well, is when you intentionally try to hurt someone and then immediately try to help them up like you made a mistake. It's like, come on, Isaiah Thomas. Like, he basically punched dude in the throat, and it was like, oh, let me help you up. My bad, I didn't mean to. Oh, my bad. Are we good? Why do NBA players do that?
Well, because a lot of times it's reaction. It's like, oh, I meant to hit him, but I didn't mean to hit him like that.
Exactly.
That's kind of what's taking place. And then to your point is, yes, I'm frustrated with me, but he didn't really do anything to deserve my ire. And then lastly, it's almost indirectly like flopping. So it lessens the blow from the officials and the guy that may retaliate against you.
Like, if you stand over him and bark at him, again, the officials take that into note. But if you act like you didn't mean to and you're so apologetic, you try to help him up, then officials also note that as well.
There was a song playing when he did that. Let me clear my throat.
Moving on. More LeVar Ball talk. There's been a lot going on, a lot of controversy, a lot of comments about our network's coverage of the Lithuanian Lothario, LeVar Ball. He's out there in Lithuania. He's talking to our reporters. We're reporting on it. Some people take issue with it. One of those people is one of my favorite people in the National Basketball Association, Steve Kerr. Let's listen to him address the issue.
He's become like the Kardashian of the NBA or something, and that sells. And that's what is true in politics, in entertainment, and now in sports. It doesn't matter if there's any substance involved.
Jalen, I know you love LeVar Ball. I know you also dislike the Kardashians. How do you feel about this comparison?
I think the comparison is an easy grab, and I've seen a lot of people go for that. But here's the difference.
What's that?
We're talking about the Ball family because they had an All-American at UCLA that went in the top 3 in the NBA draft.
They also had another player at UCLA that started to steal some sunglasses and then got pulled from the team.
And they have a younger brother who scored 90 points in a high school game that's being coached by their dad, who just so happens to be LeVar Ball. And in that role, he also plays the role of hype man and businessman and entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Does he say things that are ridiculous?
Yes.
Absolutely. Do I still want him to adopt me? Yes, I do.
I don't know why.
But here's the more important point. Think about it like this. Steve Kerr and Luke Walton were on the same staff together.
Good point.
Luke Walton played with Ty Lue. How about if you're Tristan Thompson, who, by the way, they played with him. They played with Lamar Odom when she was married to him.
I see the connections.
Obviously, and congratulations to her and Tristan Thompson, because we throw our hands in the air and we support them and salute them as a power couple. We root them all of the best. No disrespect in any way, shape, or form. But that goes back to your initial question. This is just a series of people that have been surrounded by the Kardashians, using that as a low-hanging fruit example. And this isn't ESPN's fault. I hate for people to know this, because I've seen LeVar Ball on every network. He's been on The Breakfast Club. He's been on CNN.
He's everywhere.
He's a brand.
So we are recording this on Tuesday, January 9th, starting on Wednesday, January 10th. Not only will we be giving you another dope pod to step to, we will be debuting in our new time slot, ESPN 2 at 2.
We might have to bring out the Jay-Z 22 twos and acknowledge that since we're on at 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon, and really rock with that to promote our program.
So now when we do the television show, we've got a staff of people and they make graphics and we have to stay on topic and we have to be brief with our points.
That sounds
but
like
now
work.
that when we do the exclusive podcast content, we can talk about whatever we want to talk about. And I'm glad you brought up 22 Twos, because I may or may not have studied that song intensely, and I believe I have counted 24 twos in that song. I want one of our listeners, because I don't got the time. I got too many kids. I want one of our listeners to go back and listen to that song again, because me and my friends may or may not have been driving around for a very long time back in the early 90s and counted all the twos, and I swear there are 24 twos in that song.
And I swear, you hear that phone? It's Connor Shell. David Jacoby, that's a failed drug test.
What? What do you mean? What are you talking about? What do you mean?
Riding around?
We're just driving around listening to Jay-Z albums.
You
That's
just
not a failed test.
Yeah, okay.
What are you talking about?
Okay.
It was the early 90s, man. Things were different. We're in the 413, just driving around on back roads, dirt roads, just listening to Jay-Z.
Yep.
I think Reggie put on a Jay-Z beat too. Sometimes Reggie's on his business. Sometimes he's not, though. Like when he messes up the intro. We will always leave you with a dope pod to step to. Tomorrow, Wednesday, January 10th, we debut at 2 p.m. We're hoping that they're also going to re-air us at night. We haven't got confirmation on that. I think that every time I've written an email about it, I haven't gotten a response. Harlan won't talk to me about it. Rochelle won't talk to me about it. So some tells me there's bad news, but they just don't want to give it to me. But I'm going to look. Tomorrow night I'm going to look on the DVR. I'm going to see if we're there. And make sure that you DVR Season Pass Jalen and Jacoby now on ESPN2 at 2 p.m. Because if you send us a picture to the Jalen and Jacoby account of you DVRing the show,
I've seen a couple
we will
too.
send you a T-shirt. Make sure you include your size and your address. Some human being on the staff is going to reach out to you. We haven't figured out who yet. No. But we're going to make it happen. Because we do what we say. And one thing we always do is give the people what they want. Part of that is opening up our voicemail. If you call 985-80-JALEN, you can leave us a voicemail. If you leave us a voicemail, we'll play it on the show. Just like this. Before we play this voicemail, Reggie, I want to say one thing. It's Tuesday, which means what, Jalen Rose?
Tuesday means that...
You're not paying attention.
It's another day of the week.
It means tomorrow is Wednesday, which means tomorrow is Woman
that's
Crush
a trick question.
Wednesday. So, ladies, make sure you call in 985-80-JALEN and leave us a voicemail because every Wednesday we only feature female voicemails because we appreciate the more responsible, the more mature, the more reasonable, the more kind gender,
the more disciplined
females in our world. But right now we're going to listen to voicemails from our listeners. If you call 985-80-JALEN, you can leave us a voicemail. We'll play it on the show just like this.
Hey, Jalen, Jacoby. It's Quincy from the DMV. And I got a question for Jacoby. Jacoby, I just want to know how, you got to this point in your life, because you said January 8th that you went to NYU and you majored in business. I want to know how you got to, you were able to get hired by ESPN and start your own radio show, TV show, and podcast. Thanks for giving the people what they want. Keep getting them checks. Peace.
There's so many times that we clip things from people's voices that call into this show. Like, are the Clippers for real? Comes to mind.
Yep.
There
Medicinal.
has to be something in that voice of that youngster that we can continue to use to keep alive on this program.
The same feeling you feel about Jalen Ramsey getting the interception and Jalen Hurts winning a national championship. That's how I feel about Quincy's. I feel a kinship to Quincy's. Quincy is not a very popular name, but it is one that my wife and I chose for my son, my firstborn, my guy, my dude, clearly my favorite kid. The girls can't listen to the podcast. I can say that. So this young man not only shares the name of my firstborn, he asks a question about my origin story. How did I get here? Simple answer that I will extrapolate upon. Hard work. That's how I got here. I was at New York University, just like Quincy mentioned, and I saw an ad. This is early internet, text-only internet, HTML internet, way back in, I'd say, 99. There was an ad for someone to do some grunt work for ESPN the magazine. I had to come up with 500 trivia questions in 48 hours about sports.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then I remember his name, Jamie Blattstein, was on the phone. And then Jamie said, before he hung up, he said, oh, by the way, before you write these trivia questions, you can't use anyone's name in the trivia questions. And I was like, no doubt. I got you, Jamie. I'll get you these 500 trivia questions. I got you. I think I got paid $1 a question, which was a steal, by the way. So I hung up the phone, and I looked at my roommate, shout to Aro. I looked at him, and I was like, I think I just got a job with ESPN for a 2-day job, but I have to write 500 trivia questions and not use anyone's name. I have no idea how to do this. Went to Barnes & Noble on Union Square, bought the ESPN Almanac. This is pre-internet. You had to, buy books. The ESPN Almanac is basically every single stat in the history of sports in a book, like a Bible of sports stats. And I turned every stat that I could find into a question. What was the record for the most stolen bases by a left-handed hitter? What's the record for most stolen bases by a right-handed hitter? What's the record for most stolen bases by a shortstop? What's the record for most stolen bases by a right fielder? You just go through it and create questions. And I did it in 24 hours, not 48. And I wrote Jamie and I said, I wanted to get this to you early in case you had to make any changes you want to read them, review them, I can make the changes, and we can have a revised version by the deadline. Do you know what Jamie said, Jalen?
He said, I like it just the way it is. You're hired.
He said, I like that. I like the way you move. Why don't you come into the office for an interview? And then I was an intern at the magazine in 1999, and I simply just didn't get fired. You know how we always say don't get fired? just don't get fired. Make yourself irreplaceable. Create value in any way you can create value. Because when you're low on the totem pole, you're not going to change the direction of the company, but you can get people coffee. And when you take messages, you can get the name, and you can write a message of what it's regarding, and you can get a number to call back, and you can use good handwriting. You can show up every day. You can look neat. You can smile. You can make people happy, and you just kind of do the little things, and then the little things become bigger things. And next thing you know, the podfather taps you on the shoulder and says, you should have a podcast with a gentleman by the name of Jalen Anthony Rose. And that was 7 years ago, and here we are, about to debut on ESPN2 at 2 p.m. I heard Quincy left more than one voicemail. I'm very excited for Quincy to become a co-host of the show. So we'll be hearing more from Quincy as we go throughout the week. But right now, we've got another voicemail from Reggie.
Jalen and Jacoby, Booch here, checking in from the DMV. Thank you for always giving the people what they want. Yeah. Just calling to get an update on the Jacoby household roach situation. You've been gone so long. I want to know, did you get them out? Are they back? Do you now have termites? I'm a person. Yeah, I'm a person, right? Yeah, I'm a person. Give me what I want. Peace.
First of all, 2 calls from the DMV. 2 calls about me. So you know I love these callers. Shout out to Reg for selecting these. Here's the thing. Remember I had the roach controversy, Jalen?
Yes, I do.
Here's what happened. My wife was reaching for the oven. And on the handle of the oven, like many people do, we have a dish towel. There was a roach hiding in the dish towel. So when she reached for the oven to open the oven, the roach, quote unquote, attacked her. It jumped on her, clung to her. She tried to hit it off, but the roach stayed on her clothing. Now, this was only the 4th cockroach sighting in the house in the month. But when the roach attacks my wife, she takes action. So she reached out to our landlord. Our landlord reached out to an exterminator. We had to take all the china, all the pots and pans, all the cutting boards, everything out of the kitchen, put it all in the backyard underneath the tarp, protected it, and then an exterminator came, sprayed down the house, and said, you know what? There's not too many roaches here. He was like, this is light work. He's like, I see no roach droppings. I see no roach nests. So we had a professional come by, and ever since, everything's been good around the Jacoby household. Mooch, I appreciate the follow-up question, but I still got an eye out. When you're traumatized, you still got roach PTSD. You know what I mean? You do. I still turn the lights on and look around. You know. I mean, every time I reach for that dish towel, like it never loses your sight. It never leaves your psyche.
I'm telling you, fam. And back in the day, having roaches, you got to be careful and plan wisely when you're going to have company. So if company's coming by at 12, you got to cut on all the lights at like 10. So there's no surprises.
I like it.
When you walk into the room.
I like it. I'm glad that we are roach free. And every time, and I've done this ever since 1997, when I stayed in a place in the Lower East Side for like $400 a month.
LES.
Infested with roaches.
Shout out.
Infested with roaches. Roaches crawling on my back while I was sleeping. Multiple roaches. Not one. Multiple. And I asked him before I moved in, hey, are there bugs here? He said, no, we don't have any bugs. And now every time I move into a place, I ask about bugs. And everybody always says they don't have bugs. Guess what they got, Jalen? Bugs.
Bugs.
Everybody's got bugs.
But here, everybody has, but also, you're going to have more bugs than 98% of the world because you have 3 individuals 4 years and under living at your residence. And I'm pretty sure they don't throw everything away nice and neatly.
Oh, I'll tell you, the best thing about us going to 2 p.m. is I'm off the morning shift. I don't have to see these children until the afternoon. The morning shift, I will pour my daughter, Margot. She wakes up, I want Cheewo. I want Cheewo. That means Cheerios. So I'm like, all right, I'll get you some Cheewo. I pour the Cheewo into the bowl. give her the bowl of milk. She's been asking for it for 10 minutes. She looks me right in the face, Jalen. Picks up the bowl of Cheerios, pours it on the floor, looks me at the face like, what? Like it's prison. Like it's prison. Like it's prison. Like she is sunning me. My daughter is sunning me. And then she looks at me again. It's like, I want more Chiwo.
Here's why, though. She know you're not going to do anything. You're a loving dad. You have an amazing smile. You enjoy talk a lot, but you ain't going to do nothing.
Jalen,
that's why she was looking at you like that.
We do have a disciplinary action around the house.
What is it?
Timeout. We're like Chris Webber with the timeouts. We're like Chris Webber with the timeouts around the house. Everybody getting timeout. Everybody get timeout. You get a timeout. You get a timeout. We're Chris Webber with the timeouts around the house.
So how does timeout work? Is that a lot different from my grandmother when she had something that we called a strap? It was gray. It had handles.
Very different.
And it was rubber.
Very different.
And you either have to go get that off of her doorknob or have to go outside and get a branch off the tree and take all of the leaves off of it? Is that similar to timeout? Do you think those results equal one another?
No, very different. Very different. Very different experience around the Jacoby household. You basically go to your room and play by yourself for a little bit. That's kind of how it works. You basically just can't come out of your room. Like, it's honestly like, and you know what their rooms are full of? Toys, books, things that they love. Like, they just hang out in there. And then they forget they're on timeout. You put Quincy in his room for timeout. I forget he's even in there. He forgets he's on punishment. Next thing you know, I open his door and he's playing with his toys, having a good time, singing a song. And then, like, it's not really a punishment, but you gotta do something. I'm not gonna make my kids take leaves off branches of a tree. That's crazy. I'm gonna end
Times have changed.
End up like Jalen Rose. You're gonna end up like Jalen Rose if that happens, man. whatever your guardians did to you, I'm doing the opposite. Let's listen to another voicemail.
Jalen and Jacoby, what up, though? This is Alex in Champaign, Illinois. ILL. Want to give a shout out to Reg just so this gets on the air. This question is for Jalen. I'm a high school basketball coach. If you were coached on the sidelines of a high school game, what would you do offensively and defensively to get an edge up on other teams? Keep getting them checked.
Thank you for the call. Appreciate the love.
Shout out.
First and foremost, in the United States of America, I'm just disappointed that every state doesn't function for high school games using the shot clock. That's just still baffling to me that we're so behind the international game. And I know that there are a lot of budgetary issues, in particular with public schools, that stop them from having a shot clock. But again, I'm pretty sure in the United States of America, the most powerful nation in the world, I would think that if that's important to our system, we could have it financially. With that being said, high school kids, tempo. Don't think. Don't read. I don't want any paralysis by over-analysis. 94 feet, run and jump defensively is what we're going to do. And that's how you can also take players out of the game, because I see when you get tired. And I want to constantly put pressure on the other team. That's one. On the offensive side, motion. No standing. Almost like when you're on a busy street. When I was coaching AAU, I used to name plays so that guys could remember things that they could relate to. So like Grand River and Woodward are busy streets in Detroit. So that would be the motion, passing game, constant movement. And so dribble, drive, and motion. I wouldn't necessarily be the guy that plays 5 offensive weapons around the three-point line, because I still appreciate the value of not just the metrics of making a three, but what a dribble drive can do to a defense, and getting to the free throw line and getting fouls on the other team and slowing the game down, making a team take the ball out of the net and or get a rebound when they're all inside of the free throw line versus getting long rebounds where they can run and create open floor situations. So that's likely what I would try to do.
I like it. Thank you so much for the call, Alex. We got time for one more voicemail. Reggie, let's get it.
Jalen, Jacoby, this is Josh from Chapel Hill. I just have a question for you. Is tailgating cultural? Let me know. Shout out Reg. Shout out Barron. Shout Finger Roll Jones. Thanks. Keep getting the checks.
Is tailgating cultural?
No, it isn't.
It's not.
But I will say something that we did growing up real quick that is cultural. It's called shagging.
That's not cultural.
You know what shagging is?
Yes, coitus.
What?
Coitus.
No. Shagging, sir, is in the wintertime when there's snow on the ground and or ice, you creep behind a vehicle as it stopped at a light or a stop
I know this
sign.
one.
And you grab onto the bumper and see how long you can ride the back of the vehicle.
I know this one. The conditions have to be perfect, though. Like, you need, like, some freezing rain. It needs to be like an ice thing. It can't just be, like, powder snow. It's got to be a little icy. Like, unless if you're in certain parts of the country, you have no idea what we're talking about. But it also helps if you have, like, a truck, like a moving truck or a delivery truck. It raises up the bumper a little higher. Also has those handles on it because a natural car bumper is a little small to appropriately shag. Shagging, I was thinking more of like an Austin Powers thing. Real quick, what's the plot to Austin Powers?
The plot to Austin Powers.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, you tell me.
Austin Powers' dad was the coach and GM of an NBA team, and then Austin Powers got signed to a big contract to that team. Doc Powers was the coach.
I like what you did there, sir.
Jalen, as I'm sure you watched every second of, I was featured on the LA version of the Megacast. There was a Dan Levitard version. There was a New York version. There was a coach's room. And during the coach's room, it featured a star turn by none other than Mike Gundy, who is a man and he is 40. He is also a man with a glorious mullet. Soft move or boss move, rocking a mullet in 2018?
It's a boss move.
Yeah.
It reminds me of so many players back in the day. The boss comes to mind who actually rocked the mullet. I think the best for public consumption in football is something that his team wanted him to do. His family and friends wanted to see if he was going to stick to it. He did it. And he said donors really likes it. And if it's going to keep getting them checks, keep the mullet.
Why not? I support the mullet. Moving on. Of course, we have to talk about LeVar Ball. LeVar Ball is in Lithuania. But while he's in Lithuania, the big baller brand, BBB, is being evaluated by another BBB, the Better Business Bureau. And during that evaluation, the big baller brand got an F by the Better Business Bureau. When asked about this, LeVar Ball said, "Who cares about the Better Business Bureau anywhere? They're outdated like the Yellow Pages. Everyone uses Yelp now anyway." Not caring about your evaluation by the Better Business Bureau when you run a business. Soft move or boss move?
Soft move. The one thing about being an entrepreneur and building a brand is protecting it. And you don't do that when they're credible and or loud critics that can prove that you're not actually delivering on what you're promising the public when they're paying their hard-earned money. So it is important to have that rating improve, but it's even more important that when people order shoes for $495,
give them the shoes.
Give them the shoes.
Give them the shoes. It's been months and months and months. Give my man Mace the shoes from 710 LA. Moving on. We always celebrate power couples, and there is no hotter power couple in the game right now than Offset and the Bronx's own Cardi B. The two are engaged. They're close. Cardi B's always rapping about him. However, there have been some highly publicized, how do I say this, rumors of infidelity from Offset. And Cardi B's been very vocal about these things. And now Maury Povich has entered his hat into the arena, if that's even the term that people use. And he says, if you ever need a lie detector test or have more relationship drama, you know you can always call Uncle Maury. Having Maury settle your relationship problems, soft move or boss move?
Soft move for Cardi B, because she's already a public figure and has her own platform. She shouldn't and would not and is not going to subject herself to that level of scrutiny on a reality show. And by the way, some people need to be sending a check to one Jerry Springer, because he's the one that was the lead domino to all of this reality TV that brought us the Kardashians and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Even Steve went from being security to having a show.
Man, I remember these afternoon shows. Remember Donahue? Remember Ricky Lake? Ricky Lake was the hottest thing in entertainment for like 3 years. Like, those afternoon talk shows used to be the best. Moving on, because no one cares about me nostalgically reminiscing about afternoon talk shows. They care about Todd Gurley. After the Rams lost to the Falcons in the Coliseum in the playoffs, Todd Gurley went out to the club. Soft move or boss move, clubbing after your season's over in a loss.
If he went to a strip club, boss move.
Ooh.
If he went to a regular club, soft move.
Really? Please explain the distinction now.
Because one is more boutique and one seems to be more intimate. The first example. The second one is you're out and champagning and campaigning, and that just don't feel as right when there's so many people dancing and enjoying the festivities of being out and about. He should be somewhere in the VIP with a couple of bottles on the table and some company surrounding him.
Finally, very quickly, researchers in Australia are working on a pill that you swallow and it then tracks how the gas forms inside your stomach, and you can look on your phone and track the development of your own farts. Soft move or boss move, tracking your own farts on your phone.
That's a soft move. That's that level of technology I don't want to be a part of. And I'm so happy that you taught me about this because I know you're going to have this on your phone because you will fart in the studio.
I farted in the studio. Tomorrow, we'll be on ESPN2 at 2 p.m.
Thank you.
We'll be back.
Thank you.
Then.
Thank you. You're far too kind.
We're not done. We're not done.